At the start of this story, we see a king of a country named Fernando standing in front of his people who are continuously chanting his name. Long live the king! It's clear from the scene that the king is seriously ill, so sick that he can barely stand. We also see his wife and kids here. Now, there's this guy named Mendoza who suggests that if they kill this witch, the king's health will improve. After saying this, Mendoza orders his men to set the witch on fire. So right there in front of everyone, they set her ablaze, and everyone watching seems pretty happy about it. The people believed that the witch was the source of the plague that's been spreading throughout the city. They thought if she died, the disease would go away. But then, from the fire, there's the sound of a baby crying. Turns out the witch was actually pregnant and gave birth before dying. But before anyone could do anything, a knight appears from behind the king, rushes over to the fire, and saves the baby. He quickly runs off with the child, and Mendoza orders his soldiers to follow and catch him. Mendoza tells the king that once he's healthy, they can hunt down and kill the rest of the witches. The king doesn't know yet that Mendoza didn't get the witch's baby, but since the king's health improves, he tells Mendoza to hunt down and kill every witch in the city. So one by one, they find and kill the witches, and within a year, they've wiped out nearly all of them. But that's not where it ends. Soon, innocent people are being accused of being witches, and they're executed as well. We see a man telling this story to a young girl. She interrupts him, asking, "Wait, this happened a year ago? But what happened to the witch's son?" The man replies that nobody knows for sure, but as far as he knows, witches are supposed to seal demons away. However, someone doesn't want the demons sealed. That's why all the witches were killed. Shortly after, the man's son calls for him. The man asks his son for money to give to the girl. The son gets furious, throws a stone at his father, and storms off. As he leaves, the girl looks at him and says, "If that witch's son were alive today, he'd be the same age as your son." After this, we get a brief scene where an old man wakes up from a strange dream and walks into another room. There, a woman waits for him. As soon as the man steps into the room, she transforms into her demon form and kills him. Meanwhile, Mendoza gets word that outside the city, there's a house where a man and a boy live. Mendoza suspects that this man is the same knight who escaped with the witch's child years ago, so he orders that both the man and the boy be killed. But the man is living a different life now, enjoying his nights. The woman with him asks, "You've told me about many demons, but have you ever caught one yourself?" The man replies, "Yeah, I've faced plenty of demons. They're like wild animals, killing and eating humans. But the strange thing about demons is they can take on human forms." At that moment, Mendoza's soldiers surround the house from all sides and set it on fire. As the man was about to leave, we suddenly see the girl turn into a demon and attack him. But this guy, he totally handles the demon like it's nothing, easily destroying it. Before he finishes it off, he says, "My name's Lewis, and I'm the knight who saved that baby years ago. And by the way, it's my job to seal demons." At the same time, we see Mendoza's soldier enter the burning house to check if anyone's alive or if everyone's already dead. But there's someone still alive. It's Lan, the witch's son. In a hurry to save himself, Lan puts on his golden knight armor and heads out to fight Mendoza's soldier. But then we find out that Mendoza's soldier is actually a demon himself. That's why he's been holding his own against Lan. But as the fight goes on and Lan starts to get the upper hand, the demon goes into his own demon form. And when the other soldiers see the two fighting, they get scared and run off. Lan, totally chill, finishes the demon off with ease. The next morning, Lewis shows up and says, "Good thing you took care of the demon. I left you alone so you could handle this yourself. This was your training." After that, Lewis tells him, "We're heading back to that kingdom." Now, Lewis means the kingdom where Lan's mother was killed. Inside the palace, we see that the king's son, Alfonso, has grown up. The king decides that the next king will be him. His mom gives him a necklace to celebrate, but there's this girl watching who's shocked by what she saw, and she quickly leaves. After that, we see a priest tying a girl to a chair and accusing her of being a witch. The girl tries to deny it, saying, "No, I'm not. Just let me go." But the priest pulls out a knife, stabs her, and then proceeds to eat her entire body. We then learn that this priest is also a demon. Meanwhile, Louis arrives at a place known as the Witch Dog,
dog. There, he meets a girl and tells her, "Your actions have led to the deaths of a lot of witches." The girl responds, "Look, the witch dog was shut down a while ago. I have a feeling someone is giving fake orders to kill all the witches." Louis quickly realizes that Mendoza is behind it all, because Mendoza is also a priest. That's why everyone in the palace listens to whatever he says. They have to do what he orders. We then see the same girl meet Mendoza and tell him that the queen gave her necklace to Alfonso. Mendoza gets furious, shouting, "That necklace was so close to me and now it's out of my reach. No matter what it takes, I'm getting that back, even if I have to take all their lives to do it." Louis then asks the girl, "Why does Mendoza hate witches so much? Do you know anything about it?" But the girl doesn't respond to Louis's question. As Louis starts to leave, the girl asks, "Is your son, Lan, ready to become a full-fledged golden knight?" Louis doesn't answer and just walks away. Later, when Louis meets Lan, he notices that Lan's body is covered in scars. He immediately throws Lan into the water. When Lan wakes up, all the marks on his body are gone. Meanwhile, we see Alfonso, who is still training. The people training with him tell him that he's become much stronger, and besides that, he has a really good heart. This is something his mother really admires. So the queen goes to tell the king about it. But when she sees the king, she realizes his condition has worsened. She tells the maid to get some medicine. When the maid brings the medicine, Mendoza shows up and accuses the queen, saying, "The medicine you gave has made the king worse. We suspect you want to kill him." Then he orders that she be taken prisoner. The queen defends herself, saying, "That's not true. Why would I want to kill my own husband?" But no one listens to her, and at Mendoza's signal, the queen is taken away. Meanwhile, Lan finds out that many girls have gone missing in the city, and everyone thinks it's the work of witches. The demon priest has imprisoned a girl and torturing her, asking, "What happened to our offer?" The girl refuses, and the priest tells her, "I'll give you one more chance," before walking away. That night, Louis learns that the priest is holding a girl captive, and he tells Lan, "Look, that girl is a Makai priestess. She could help us, so we need to save her." The demon priest is about to continue torturing the girl, but we see that the girl has a bell on her foot. She moves her foot, and when the priest hears the bell, he transforms into his demon form and immediately attacks the girl. Just then, Louis and Lan arrive. Lan takes the demon outside to fight him, while Louis heads to the girl to free her. But the girl says, "I don't need your help," and using her magic, she frees herself and comes outside. As she fights the demon launches a powerful attack at Lan, sending him flying far away. He lands near a giant cross, and seeing it, Lan is reminded of the day his mother was burned alive. The marks reappear on his body, and he quickly puts on his golden armor, heading straight for the girl to attack her, because Lan is losing control, and anyone in his path will be killed. The girl tries to stop him, but Lan doesn't listen. Instead, he sets everything around him on fire. Louis realizes that he has to stop Lan, so he puts on his own armor and heads out to fight him. Meanwhile, the demon sees the chaos as a chance to escape, but the girl blocks his path and tears him to pieces. Louis tries to calm Lan down, saying, "You need to control yourself. If you lose control, you could kill every innocent person around here." After hearing this, Lan manages to control his anger, and after a while, he calms down. But he passes out right there. Meanwhile, we see Alfonso finding out that his mom has been taken prisoner and is being moved somewhere. Immediately, he starts chasing after her. He asks his mom what the heck is going on. His mom tells him, "Look, Mendoza's tricked us. I don't want you to save me because if you do, Mendoza might capture you too. You need to run away." Alfonso doesn't want to leave his mom, but he has no choice, so reluctantly, he heads off. Meanwhile, we see Louis telling Lon, "A message came from Watchdog. It says the work on the Zaruba ring is done, and the man who was working on it is about to die. We need to get that ring as soon as possible before he kicks the bucket." Just then, the girl named Emma shows up. Emma immediately asks Louis, "Has Lon figured out a way to control his flames?" Louis responds, "I gave Priest Gale the ring, the one Lon has. I asked him to modify it so Lon can control his flames." Emma is shocked when she hears about Priest Gale because he's considered the smartest and highest-ranking priest in the area. The three of them are talking when Emma notices the marks on Lon's hand. She's about to touch them, but Lon says, "Don't touch those." After saying that, he walks off. Then we see Priest Gale inside a cave, still working on the ring, but after a while, he gets tired and tells his servant, "You stay here for a bit, I'll be right back." The servant, though, gets drawn to the ring, and as he tries to touch it, something happens. The servant gets a shock and immediately runs off. Now, we see that Louis and Lon are on their way to retrieve Lon's ring, but on the way, they're ambushed by none other than the servant himself. Yeah, Gale's servant attacks them because they've gotten too close to the cave. But Louis says, "Look, we're both knights, not demons." When the attack finally stops, Gale steps out and scolds his servant. "You're such an idiot. You don't even know the difference between a knight and a demon?" After getting chewed out, the servant heads back into the cave. Now we flash back to a story from years ago. Louis had come to Gale for help with fixing a ring. This ring is called the Zoruba ring. Gale said, "Sure, I can fix the ring, but it's gonna take a lot of time." Then we jump back to the present. Gale tells Lon, "The ring I'm giving you will help you control your flames, but there's one problem. The ring's not fully ready yet, so I need you two to hang around here for a while. Once I finish the work, I'll give it to you." With that, Gale goes back to work on the ring with his servant. While Gale works, his servant, Marcello, starts thinking, "I'm not letting anyone take this ring. I've been working on it for years." Marcello becomes obsessed with the ring and attacks Gale. He steals the ring and bolts out of there. But while he's running, he bumps into Emma. Emma asks him, "What are you doing here?" And as soon as she gets the chance, she quickly captures Marcello and takes the ring, running off with it. Right then, there's a huge blast. When they arrive, Marcello tells them a fake story. He says Emma attacked Gale, stole the ring, and ran off. Lon immediately goes after Emma, and he actually catches up with her. The two start fighting, and Lon says, "Give me my ring back." But Emma tells him, "I don't have your ring." And that blast happened because Marcello turned into a demon. Meanwhile, Louis arrives with Marcello at Gale's place. After seeing Gale's body, Louis says whoever attacked Gale used a sword to kill him. And as far as I know, Emma doesn't use a sword. Marcello realizes that his lie has been exposed, so he uses his power to attack Louis. But Louis manages to dodge just in time and escapes the cave. When he gets outside, he sees that Lon has also arrived. Marcello faces them both, puts the ring on, and says, "Now the full power of this ring is mine." But even after wearing the ring, Marcello doesn't feel any different. Louis tells him, "Look, wearing the ring won't give you any power. The ring only works when a knight wears it." After hearing this, Marcello gets angry and immediately transforms into his demon form. Lon also puts on his armor and heads off to fight Marcello. The two have a pretty intense battle, but in the end, Lon wins and puts the ring on his hand. But when he does, he's transported to a different world where the Zoruba ring itself starts talking to Lon. It tells Lon, "After you put me on, we'll have a contract. Are you ready for that?" Lon responds, "Yeah, I'm ready." The ring adds, "Once the contract is made, remember, your life will belong to me." Lon replies, "I'm ready for that too." With that, he's sent back to his own world. Now, the contract between them is officially made.
Meanwhile, we see Alfonso, who's running for his life, being chased by 3 soldiers. He tries to hide, but they catch up to him. He's good at fighting though, and beats all 3 of them. What he doesn't know is that these 3 soldiers are actually demons. The 3 of them team up and finally capture Alfonso. But just then, another knight appears, wipes out the demons, and saves Alfonso's life. After seeing the knight, Alfonso asks, "Are you the legendary hero, the King of Light?" The knight takes off his armor and tells Alfonso, "Just follow me." We then see the 2 of them walking through a forest toward a village. Lan asks, "Why are we going to that village?" Louis tells Lan, "Look, we're just here to handle business, so just keep following me." After they get to the village, Lan notices something off. The place is really weird. Every single person is staring at them, and most of the houses are broken down. Then the village chief walks up to them. He asks, "What are you 2 doing in my village?" Louis responds, "I heard some people in this village have gone missing, so we came to investigate." But the chief immediately shuts them down, saying, "The news you heard is wrong. Besides, we don't like outsiders here, so I suggest you leave." Despite his warning, Lan and Louis don't leave. Lan says, "Maybe we should go. I don't really think there's anything off about this place." But Louis shakes his head and says, "Nope, we're staying." Just then, their attention is drawn to some kids who are bullying another child. As they approach, the kids warn them, "Stay away from that kid. He's cursed, and his mom is a witch who kills people." After saying that, all the kids run off. Louis tells the boy,
take us to your house." The boy leads them home, and when they get inside, he tells his mom, "These two found me on the road and saved me from the other kids." After that, the boy heads to his room. His mom talks to Louis and Lan and says, "Please don't think my son is crazy or acting strange. Since my husband passed away, he's been like this. He keeps playing with a doll and people make fun of him. They say he's cursed." Then Louis pulls out a small bell and rings it in front of the woman. He's doing this on purpose to see if she's a demon, but nothing happens. The woman responds, "Look, please don't doubt me. I know the villagers think I'm a witch, but that's not true. You two are safe here, and if you want, you can stay the night." Louis then asks, "What happened to your husband?" She tells them, "Some thieves attacked my husband. They killed him during a robbery." Now Lan starts getting suspicious. He's starting to think the village chief lied to them. Louis says, "I have a feeling the village chief is lying to us. There have been a lot of deaths here, and I want to know how much of that is true." But before she can respond, the door crashes open and the villagers storm in. After they got here, everyone started blaming this woman, saying her son killed our kids. The village chief speaks up, saying, "I saw your son taking all our kids in the woods. He probably went there and murdered them." So the woman calls her son over and tells everyone, "This can't be true. Since evening, my son hasn't left the house. He's been with us the whole time." Louis even chimes in, agreeing with her, but nobody believes what Erla is saying. People start saying that they should capture Erla, so they capture her and are about to take her away, but her son runs away from home. Then Lan says, "I'm going after that kid." Meanwhile, Erla gets tied up at a spot and the village chief pulls out a knife about to slit her throat. But just then, word comes in that there's a fire at the village chief's house, so everyone rushes to put it out. While that's happening, Louis shows up and is ready to rescue Erla, but the village chief comes back with the rest of the village. He says, "You can take her. Our suspicion has been cleared up." Then Lan follows the kid all the way to a house far outside the village. When he enters, he sees a bunch of statues inside. Suddenly, the kid appears and Lan says, "Look, nothing's gonna happen to your mom, but you have to come with me." After that, they head back. Back in the village, Louis tells Lan, "I rang the bell in front of every villager and no demon showed up. Now I want to ring the bell in front of this kid." Lan tries to stop him, but Louis insists, "We don't have any other choice." So they ring the bell in front of the kid, and once again, no demon appears. Lan then asks Erla, "I saw a house at the edge of the village. Whose house was that?" Erla starts explaining, "That house you saw was once owned by a woodcutter. The villagers thought he was a demon, so they all got together and killed him." After hearing this, Lan realizes the doll the kid has must be cursed because he saw so many dolls in the woodcutter's house. So he rushes to find the kid, but the kid had already run away from home. Lan tells everyone, "I'm going after him." We then see Erla about to be attacked, but Louis saves her just in time. The attack is from the villagers because they want to kill them all. Lan eventually finds the kid and tells him, "Throw away that doll. It's got a demon inside." But the kid says, "No, I'm not gonna do that." And after a brief moment, the demon inside the doll is unleashed. Lan quickly puts on his armor to fight the demon. There's a pretty epic battle between Lan and the demon, but Lan starts to win. Just when Lan is about to finish off the demon, the kid jumps in the way. The kid then tells Lan the truth. "It wasn't thieves who killed my father. It was the whole village. The village chief accused my father of doing wrong, so they all killed him. That's why I want revenge on the whole village." Lan listens as the kid explains, but while they're talking, the demon slips away. The demon attacks Erla's house, but Louis manages to save her. The demon then heads toward the village chief. He's about to attack him, but just then, Lan shows up and uses his powers to destroy the demon. However, the kid is heartbroken. He says, "Because of you, I won't be able to avenge my father. What you did was wrong." The next day, the village chief is arrested. It turns out he was involved in dark magic, and that's why he used to accuse people and have them killed so he could use their bodies for his black magic. After this, Lan and Louis leave the village. But that same night, we see a scene where Alfonso is running for his life. A man named Raphael is helping him escape. Alfonso asks, "What kind of creatures are these that are attacking me?" Raphael answers, "The creatures attacking you are demons. They look like humans and live in the shadows of humans. When they get hungry, they kill and eat humans. I think Mendoza is controlling all of them to build an army and take over the world." Alfonso then says, "Then I need a power like yours so I can wipe out all these demons." Raphael replies, "To get a power like mine, you first have to figure out who you really are. I know who I am, and I used to be friends with the old Golden Knight." We then see that they're staying in a hotel. Lan says, "I'm heading out," but just as he's about to leave, his ring starts speaking to him. It says, "It's a full moon tonight. That means, according to the contract, I'll be taking your life." Lan collapses, unconscious. Meanwhile, we see Raphael leading Alfonso to an old ruin and explains the old people knew who demons were. They knew demons could kill humans, take their form, and live among humans.
But today's people don't know this. And on top of that, I see that people today are killing witches. The role of witches is to protect people from demons, and they've sworn never to attack humans. That's why, whenever humans kill a witch, the witches don't fight back to save themselves, which is why thousands of witches have been killed. Alfonso then asks, "Was the Golden Knight killed the same way? Did the people kill him too?" Raphael replies, "Look, the Golden Knight's real name was Garo, and I don't know how he died, but his blood runs through your veins." Hearing this, Alfonso is shocked. Raphael then tells him the whole story. He says, Garo had 2 daughters. The elder daughter became an alchemist, but the people accused her of being a witch and burned her alive. Before she died, she gave birth to a child. Then a knight came and saved the baby. But what people don't know is that Garo's younger daughter was adopted at a young age by a very wealthy family. Because of that, she eventually married the king, and that woman was none other than your mother. Alfonso then asks, "Did my mom have this necklace since childhood? Because ever since she gave it to me, all of this has been happening." Looking at the necklace, Raphael says, "Mendoza must have seen this necklace and realized your mother has the blood of a knight in her. That's why he wants to kill both of you." Suddenly, Raphael attacks Alfonso, and though Alfonso fights back, he gets knocked to the ground. Raphael tells him, "Look, you're strong enough to fight a human and you'll win, but you're not ready to fight a demon yet." After saying that, Raphael takes Alfonso to another place. In the village where Alfonso arrives, he sees that the people are in terrible condition. However, when they see Alfonso, they run away in fear. Then they stop in front of the village chief's house. As they enter, a man suddenly attacks them. Raphael tries to protect Alfonso, and during the struggle, he rings a bell to see if the attacker is a demon or human. He notices the man's eyes glowing and realizes it's a demon. Then the man shifts into his demon form, and the fight between them begins. While they're fighting, Alfonso gets thrown back and lands in another room. There, he sees a demon about to eat a mother and her child. So Alfonso heads out to fight the demon, but his attacks don't seem to affect it. However, he manages to buy enough time to get the mother and child to safety. After placing them in a secure spot, he heads back to confront the demon, but he's still not powerful enough to defeat it. That's when Raphael arrives, quickly puts on his armor, and takes down the demon. Next morning, Alfonso goes to Raphael and says, "I want to protect people like you. Please, train me." Raphael agrees to this request. Meanwhile, we see Lan in a strange place, talking to his own armor. The armor tells him, "You need to control your flames, and also, you'll soon face a tough decision. Who will you save?" Just then, Lan's eyes snap open, and he finds himself face to face with Louis. There are other people in the cart as well, and Lan realizes that Louis has brought him to the city where his mother died. Lan says, "We need to get to the palace," but Louis replies, "Hold on, be patient. I'm going to gather some information first. Don't do anything that'll get us caught in the meantime." We then see a shopkeeper who runs a store selling swords. He has a special sword that he keeps locked in a room. As he's looking at the sword, he suddenly hears his child calling out for help from within it. He gets closer to the sword, and the moment he does, a demon attacks him. Louis arrives at the shop to meet the owner. He notices a boy outside the store and wants to talk to him. The boy tells him the shop's closed
fast right now. Come back later. Louis replies, I'm not here to buy anything. I want to ask you about the palace. Just then, the shopkeeper comes out, tells the boy to go do his work, and takes Louis inside. Meanwhile, Lan's situation worsens as a girl is clinging to him. He's confused and doesn't know what's going on until Emma shows up and pulls him away. Back at the shop, the shopkeeper tells Louis, we don't know much about the palace, but I do know that the first commander of the soldiers has been killed. A new commander has replaced him, and he wears all black from head to toe. That's why we call him the Black Knight. The shopkeeper knows this because his own son is a soldier. After talking to Louis, the shopkeeper goes outside and asks other soldiers about his son, but they respond, we don't know what happened to your son. Hearing this, the shopkeeper gets enraged, transforms into his demon form, and kills both soldiers.
The next day, we see a small child getting beaten up because he stole from a shop. The shopkeeper is punishing him when Julio steps in and tells the shopkeeper to stop, but the owner ignores him. Then, Lon arrives and hands the shopkeeper all the money, telling the boy to go free. Julio then explains to Lon, there was a time when I used to steal just like that kid, but one day, my master, the shopkeeper, caught me stealing and told me he'd give me a job instead. Ever since then, I've been working for him. That night, the four of them are eating together, but Lon and Louis start arguing over something. Seeing them fight, the shopkeeper gets angry and yells at them. However, he later apologizes and leaves. Lon and Louis also step outside, and Julio approaches them. He says, please forgive my master. He once had a son who was a soldier. After a battle, his son never came back, only his sword returned. Since then, my master has believed his son is still alive, but in reality, his son is dead. That's when he started acting strangely. Meanwhile, the shopkeeper, now in his demon form, has begun killing every soldier in sight while searching for his son. When Julio hears about the demon attack in the city, he rushes over. Upon seeing the demon, he immediately realizes it's his master. He begs, please stop all of this. But the shopkeeper in his demon form attacks Julio instead. At that moment, Lon arrives to save Julio, and Louis, now in his armor, joins the fight. Using his armor, Louis easily defeats the demon. After witnessing his master's death, Julio breaks down in tears. Meanwhile, Mendoza is informed that one of his demons has been killed. Enraged, he tells one of his men, find out who did this and kill them. Now we see that all the new soldiers recruited by Mendoza are being possessed by demons. Meanwhile, Lon is being chased by soldiers, and as he's running, he encounters a soldier named Dion. Dion watches Lon fighting and realizes that Lon is a knight. Not only that, but Dion also realizes that Lon must be working with Louis. Suddenly, Dion attacks Lon and then puts on his armor. Lon too dons his armor and a fierce battle ensues. However, Dion's power is so overwhelming that Lon is defeated. Just when Lon is about to die, Emma saves him. She pulls him away but throws him to the ground afterward. Lon loses consciousness, and when he wakes up, he finds himself in a completely new place. His memories are foggy and he doesn't remember much. He then sees a girl who calls him Pepe and says, "You're my older brother." Afterward, all the kids head towards a church and the girl urges him to join them. Lon goes with her, and once they reach the church, a man comes out and selects a few children to take inside. A nun approaches the girl and asks, "Who is this new person with you?" The girl responds, "This is my older brother Pepe, who has returned." Hearing this, the nun is shocked. Later that evening, when the nun is heading somewhere, Lon crosses her path. He asks, "Am I really Pepe?" The nun realizes that Lon has lost all memory and says, "I once saved your life and you wanted to leave the village. I helped you with that, but I can't tell you more. I have other things to do." After saying this, the nun walks away.
That night, the girl is working at home when a man approaches her and removes his mask. Upon seeing him, the girl says, "Pepe," and goes with him. Meanwhile, when Lon returns home, he touches his sword, and with that, his memories come rushing back. Later, when an old man enters the house, Lon confronts him, demanding, "Tell me the truth. What are you doing with me?" The old man admits, "At the girl's request, I gave you a medicine that made you forget your memories for a while." It turns out the masked man is none other than the real Pepe, who takes his sister sister into the church. When the nun sees them, she is astounded. He leaves his sister with the nun, and then the old man reveals the full truth. He says, "I had a friend who had a daughter and a husband, but when her husband died, she remarried. The man she married also had a son. Despite all this, they got married, and Pepe ended up with a sister. Later, the villagers accused Pepe's father of being a werewolf, and they killed them both. Pepe feared that his sister might be killed too, so he hid her away and left, looking for a new place. After that, there was no news of him, and everyone assumed that he was dead. Later, Lon arrives at the church to search for the girl. There, he learns from the nun that they were actually involved in child trafficking, and Pepe was a demon. We then see Pepe on his way to sell some children. When one child tries to escape, Pepe transforms into his demon form and stops him. Lon arrives just in time, quickly dons his armor, and begins fighting the demon. Eventually, Lon defeats and kills the demon. The girl sees her brother die, but is unable to do anything. Lon tells all the children to go home. The next day, Louis meets Lon and says, "Emma told me what happened to you. Since you lost to Dion, you'll need to be on your own for a while and figure things out." Lon agrees, but then Louis asks for some money. Lon realizes that Louis is involved with a girl and quickly throws the money in Louis's face before walking away. Later, Louis is walking around when he sees a girl in trouble, being chased by 3 men. Louis quickly picks her up and takes her to a secluded area. The girl says, "I'm glad you brought me here because my house is nearby." And then she kisses Louis. At that moment, Louis loses his mind, thinking something might happen between them, and immediately starts undressing. But just as things seem to get heated, the 3 men show up, and the girl takes all of Louis's money, walking back to the men. Louis realizes he's been scammed, and the men attack him. He's forced to run naked. As Louis is running through the streets naked, soldiers try to stop him, but Emma arrives just in time to save him. She defeats the soldiers and takes Louis somewhere safe. Then she asks him, "What were you planning to do with Dion?" We then get a flashback showing Dion, Louis, and Lon's mother, Anna, who were once very close friends. One day, when witches were being hunted, Anna's life was in danger. Louis decided to try and save her, only to find out that Anna was pregnant.
Then, Dion tells both of them, "You two should leave. I'll fight the soldiers." Dion faces all the soldiers alone. Now, we return to the present scene where Louis finds himself back in the same house where he had undressed earlier. This time, he sees the same girl again. She pleads for help, saying, "Please help us. My friend has turned into a demon." Just then, the girl's friend arrives, transforming into a demon and attacking both of them. However, Louis easily defeats the demon. The next day, we see Alfonso undergoing intense training. We learn that Alfonso has become much stronger, but not yet strong enough to defeat Raphael. Raphael realizes that in order to make Alfonso even stronger, he must fight a demon. So he heads to the washdog and asks the girl, "Tell me about a demon that is really strong." The girl informs him about a village called All Live, where there is a powerful demon, and everyone who has tried to stop it has been killed. After hearing this, Raphael leaves for the village. Meanwhile, Lan also arrives and asks the same girl, "I'm in the middle of training, so tell me about a powerful demon." The girl tells Lan about the same village she mentioned to Raphael. The next scene shows Raphael meeting Alfonso and saying, "Your training is almost complete. In these final days, you will train alone. I want you to go to a village, find the demon, and defeat it." The next day, both of them arrive at the same village. As they walk through the village, Alfonso accidentally bumps into a man, causing his pot to break. Alfonso demands money from the man. Just then, Lan steps forward and helps by giving the man money for the broken pot. Later, while having a meal together, the two introduce themselves to each other. That night, Lan heads out to find the demon, but he notices that Alfonso is also going in the same direction, so he begins to follow him. But just then, Alfonso attacks him, and they realize that both of them are there for the same reason, to kill the demon. They decide to work together. As they move forward, they come across a huge gate, which seems to be opening on its own. They both understand that the demon must be inside. As they approach
approach the gate, a skeleton suddenly attacks them. Lan is knocked down, and Alfonso faces numerous attacks. However, Alfonso manages to fight back and climbs on top of the gate. Lan warns him, "Be careful. If you make a mistake, you could get hurt." After saying this, Lan goes off to fight the skeleton, slicing its neck and defeating it. As Alfonso was about to attack the gate, he suddenly finds himself under attack because there was a protective shield outside the gate, which is why he was being assaulted. Then the gate suddenly opens and the demon inside releases a massive energy blast from its mouth. The blast clears the entire area, and Lan quickly realizes that he can't fight without his armor. He immediately puts on his armor, and when Alfonso sees it, he understands that Lan is his brother. Lan heads toward the demon to attack, but the demon grabs him. Seeing this, Alfonso realizes that he needs to help Lan. He rushes up to attack from above, but is unable to do much because the demon continuously assaults him. Alfonso gets wounded in the process. Despite Alfonso's efforts, he continues to struggle, but just then Raphael arrives. He had anticipated that Alfonso wouldn't be able to defeat the demon alone. As soon as Raphael arrives, he immediately dons his armor and attacks the demon.
Raphael's attack causes the demon to release Lan, but he still cannot withstand the demon's power. The demon pierces Raphael's body with many tentacles. Before dying, Raphael says, "Here, take my sword and hold onto it. Quickly, wear my armor. You have to do it fast, because if I die, my armor won't be useful to you." Then, the demon devours Raphael. At that moment, Alfonso grabs Raphael's sword. With it, he inherits Raphael's armor, and his power increases exponentially. With a single strike, he destroys the demon. Afterward, Alfonso is filled with sorrow, knowing that his master, Raphael, has died. However, he vows to eradicate all the demons. Later, we see Alfonso asking Lan, "Do you know about the Golden Knight, Garo?" But here, Lan tells him, "No, I don't know about him, and I don't care to know about anyone, because I only have one goal, to destroy every single demon and kill Mendoza." Alfonso replies, "That's my goal too." The two decide to work together to achieve their shared objective. The next day, they return to the city, but they must remain hidden because soldiers are guarding every corner. As Alfonso moves ahead, Lan stays behind, and just then, a soldier grabs him. But once again, Emma arrives and saves him, asking why he's back in the city. Lan remains silent and offers no answer. Afterward, he takes food to Alfonso. Alfonso asks, "Tell me about your father." Lan responds coldly, "That man doesn't deserve to be called a father." At that moment, Emma arrives and introduces herself to Alfonso. Meanwhile, we see Louis running around naked frantically and eventually making his way to them. Alfonso tells Louis, "I have Garo's blood in me too." Hearing this, Louis begins to doubt Anna, thinking, "If I only have one child with Anna, then this second child must belong to another man." Meanwhile, Mendoza and Dion find out that Alfonso has become a knight. Mendoza is pleased to learn that Raphael is dead. We then get a flashback of Mendoza's past. We learn that Mendoza was once an alchemist who created a ring that could control demons and even bring the dead back to life. However, the ring's power comes from human blood, which is why Mendoza had killed many humans to fuel it.
The priests and knights of the Maze Kingdom capture Mendoza. It is revealed that in order for Mendoza to gain power, he could take anyone's life, regardless of who they were. Mendoza is cursed for his actions, with marks appearing on his body and, horrifyingly, on the bodies of all the children he would later have. After receiving the curse, Mendoza is thrown out. But Mendoza doesn't give up. Using his cunning, he travels to another kingdom and begins working as a priest, quickly rising to power. Eventually, he marries a beautiful princess, but when their son is born, he notices that the marks are on the child's body as well. Realizing that the curse has not been broken, he becomes furious. In his rage, he takes the lives of both his wife and child before leaving. Mendoza now believes that he has been wronged, and his anger grows even more intense.
Mendoza believed that what he had done was right, but because the maze priests had cursed him, Mendoza decided to destroy all the maze priests and maze knights. In the present, Mendoza tells Dion to go and kill Alfonso, and if he finds any other knights, he should kill them as well. Dion leaves to carry out the mission, and Mendoza begins to prepare for what's to come. Meanwhile, we see several people locked inside a coffin, their blood continuously draining out. Lewis sits near a ravine, deep in thought, believing that Anna had betrayed him by having another child but not telling him. Just then, Lan kicks him from behind and tells him that they need to go inside the palace because Alfonso knows a secret route. Lewis, now alert, agrees and says, "That's fine, but Alfonso, I want to tell you something. Even though Anna deceived me and you're her son, I promise I will love you like I loved your father. I don't even know where your father is, but you can consider me your father now." Lan responds, "It's not what you think. Alfonso's mother was my mother's younger sister." Lewis suddenly recalls that Anna did indeed have a younger sister, and the realization brings him some comfort, thinking, so Anna didn't betray me after all. Lewis then says, "Well, that makes me your uncle," and becomes emotional. Lan, frustrated, kicks Lewis and knocks him to the ground. The tension is palpable as they decide to use the lower paths to reach the palace. Once they reach the palace, Emma provides them with a rope to climb up. However, before Lewis ascends, Emma asks, "You do know how those marks appeared on Lan's body, right?" Lewis responds, "Yes, I know. His mother gave him those marks." Emma starts explaining that the mark is really strong. This means that the flames that are supposed to protect her could end up burning her instead, because Emma has noticed that whenever Len gets too emotional, especially when he starts remembering the time his mom was killed, he loses control. After that, anyone who stands in his way gets destroyed. So Emma warns Lewis that he needs to keep an eye on Len. After she says this, Lewis heads upstairs, but Emma doesn't go with him and stays behind with the others.
Once they get upstairs, Len tells Alfonso that he should rescue his mom, but Alfonso explains that his mom is on the other side, specifically locked up in the prison across from them. To get there, they need to cross a bridge which is heavily guarded by soldiers. Len, determined, says, "All right, let's go rescue your mom," but Alfonso shuts that idea down. "No, we're not doing that," he says. "I didn't come here to rescue my mom, I came here to save my kingdom. If my mom were in my place, she'd be doing the same thing." Meanwhile, we see Alfonso's mom, who is quietly praying for her son. Then she overhears two soldiers talking. They're saying that Alfonso has been spotted inside the kingdom. Mendoza has ordered them to keep an eye on her because he might try to move her out of the area or bring her in front of Alfonso to force him to surrender. The three of them manage to get inside the castle, but they're currently at the very bottom, basically the foundation of the entire place. Lewis starts looking at the pillars and asks, "Why are these pillars so weird?" Alfonso, however, has no idea what he's talking about, but as they continue, they come across more pillars, and this time they notice many skulls placed on top of them. Then they come across some coffins, and blood starts leaking out from them. Len, noticing the strange smell, says, "It smells like someone's flesh is being burned." Suddenly, a demon drops down from above and attacks them. As they look up, they realize there are many demons above, confirming that demons are being created here. Lewis starts fighting one of the demons, but the other two quickly find a gate that leads upstairs. They tell Lewis to follow them, and he does. Once they reach the upper level, they suddenly see Dion in front of them. Lewis immediately realizes that Dion has come for him. He tells the others to move forward, that he'll handle this. But Len protests, saying, "I can't leave you. You know he beat me, so he'll beat you too." Lewis insists, "You have to go on." Alfonso steps in, trying to convince Len, "Trust your father. He'll defeat him, but for now, we have to move forward." So the two of them leave.
Now, the fight between Lewis and Dion begins. They're battling, but Dion wants them to fight seriously. Lewis, though, is taking it lightly and even kicks Dion back. Dion laughs and says, "I want us to fight seriously." He then puts on his armor, but Lewis refuses to wear his own armor, saying, "I won't fight seriously until you tell me the truth. Why did you join forces with Mendoza?" After saying this, Lewis sits down, and Dion keeps attacking him. Despite this, Lewis doesn't move and keeps saying, "I won't fight until you tell me the truth." Finally, Dion reveals the truth. When Lewis had escaped with Anna, Dion was left alone, fighting off soldiers. Dion knew he was a knight, so he couldn't raise his hand against humans. That's why he kept running, trying to evade them. But the soldiers surrounded him, trying to kill him. Just when things looked hopeless, Dion used his power to injure them and almost killed one soldier. But then he remembered something Anna once told him, that humans corrupt easily, that they quickly side with the wrong things. But as knights, we know what is right and what is wrong. Even if humans hate us or go against us, a knight will never attack a human, because a knight understands what's right and what's wrong. That's why Dion lets the soldier go. However, as soon as the soldier reaches the ground, he immediately attacks Dion, injuring him. Furious, Dion decides that he will no longer help humans or protect them. He kills all the soldiers around him. A little later, Mendoza arrives and uses his powers to burn Dion's body. But then he grants Dion a new life and tells him, from now on, you're no longer a knight and you won't protect humans. Instead, we will rule over them together. Anyone who stands in our way, whether they're priests or knights, will eliminate them all. Dion agrees to this. After hearing the truth, Lewis says, I don't trust you. I think you've been a traitor from the start. Just because a few people attacked you, you decided that all humans are bad. But that's not how it works. After this, Lewis puts on his armor and the two of them begin to fight. Meanwhile, we see that they both end up in an upper room. Once inside, Alfonso sees a girl crying. He approaches her and says, you don't need to cry, we'll help you. But suddenly, the girl transforms into a monster and attacks Alfonso. Len jumps in between and slices the demon in half. The half of the demon's body tries to run away towards Mendoza, but Len doesn't let him escape and kills him on the spot. Then Len explains to Alfonso, next time you see anyone, assume they're a demon first. He also mentions that the demon was saying Mendoza's name and was heading towards the wall in front of them. Len feels like there might be a secret room behind the wall, so both of them lift the wall, and sure enough, they find the hidden room. As they enter, we see the two of them still fighting fiercely. The battle is so intense that parts of the castle begin to collapse, but both are getting exhausted from the constant fighting. Finally, they use all of their power against each other, but neither of them is harmed. Both end up losing, and their armor disappears.
Louis, catching his breath, says, we've both lost. But Dion responds, no, that's not happening. He moves toward Louis, preparing to kill him. Just then, Louis throws his sword at Dion. Dion dodges it and reaches Louis, immediately attacking with his sword. However, Louis manages to block Dion's strike, disarms him, and throws Dion's sword aside. What Louis doesn't realize is that Dion's other arm is fake, and hidden within it is another weapon. Using this, Dion strikes Louis, injuring him. Dion then says, your time has come. You're going to die now. But Louis refuses to give in, saying, no, it's not my time. At that moment, Louis' sword, which he had thrown at Dion, circles back and heads straight for Dion. Dion, now facing death, suddenly remembers who he really is. Before he dies, he asks Louis, how is Anna? Is she safe? Dion has no idea that Anna is already dead, but Louis lies, telling him, yes, she's safe, don't worry, I'll always keep her safe. In his final moments, Dion says, I'm dying now, but my armor and sword should go to someone worthy. Louis responds, I will do that. With that, Dion dies, and Louis, overwhelmed with grief, breaks down in tears because he's lost his last friend. As they make their way down, Mendoza sees Alfonso and says, I'm glad you're safe. I've been worried about you. But Alfonso, angry, retorts, cut the act. I'm not letting you off. Just then, Len charges at Mendoza to attack, but Mendoza remains unharmed. A barrier surrounds him, constantly protecting him. Mendoza smirks and says, you two can't stop me no matter how hard you try. With that, Mendoza activates a portal and a huge demon steps out. Mendoza explains, this demon is so massive it can destroy the entire kingdom and anyone who stands in my way. But Len responds, no, that won't happen. We will stop you. With that, both of them suit up in their armor, and Len charges at Mendoza. Meanwhile, Alfonso targets the giant demon, preparing to fight it. Dion keeps telling Len, let go of Mendoza. We need to focus on taking down this demon first. But Len is relentless, attacking Mendoza because he wants revenge. Mendoza soon realizes that Len is the same boy from years ago, the one whose mother he had killed. Mendoza also understands that Len is out for vengeance. He begins to remind Len of how he killed his mother, repeatedly repeatedly taunting him with memories of her death. As Mendoza keeps bringing up the past, Len becomes more and more enraged. Mendoza quickly realizes Len's weakness, and using his magical powers, he enters Len's mind. He forces Len to relive the moment when his mother was burned alive. Overcome with rage, Len loses control. His armor grows larger and more powerful, and his flames spread uncontrollably throughout the city, setting everything on fire. Seeing this, Alfonso asks, "What did you do?" Mendoza calmly replies, "I didn't do anything. The fire inside him was always there. I just let it spread." Len then turns his focus to the giant demon, attacking it for a short while, but soon he abandons the fight and heads toward the city, with Alfonso following closely behind. Watching this, Mendoza remarks, "It seems the old Mackay knights are no longer around. The old knights used to have such control over themselves. They knew what was right and wrong, but these new knights, they can't control themselves." Back in the city, the flames from Len's armor continue to wreak havoc, setting the entire city on fire. Half the city is engulfed in flames, and countless innocent people are being killed. Alfonso tries to stop Len, but he fails and falls to the ground. When he finally gets up and looks around, he sees the devastation Len has caused. Filled with anger, Alfonso confronts Len, shouting, "You don't deserve to be the Golden Knight. You've forgotten your duty. Your job was to save the people, not to seek revenge. And now, because of you, so many innocent lives are being lost."
Alfonso then turns to Louis and says, "You won't stop me. Your son has lost it. He's gone mad with revenge, killing innocent people in the process. I have to stop him, no matter what." Louis replies, "I can't stop him. I'm injured. You have to. Look closely and you'll see a symbol on his lower back. If you attack that spot, his armor will break." Len, in his overwhelming rage, creates a barrier of flames around himself. Alfonso, now suited up in his armor, enters the barrier and begins fighting Len. Amidst all the chaos, Mendoza observes, "If all the Mackay knights and alchemists were as foolish as Len, I'd conquer the world in no time." Len, still furious, prepares to attack Alfonso with all his power, but just as he's about to strike, Emma uses her magical powers to freeze his armor. With this, Alfonso gets the opportunity to strike at Len's weak spot, the symbol on his armor. Alfonso lands a hit, and Len's armor shatters. However, Len falls unconscious and begins to plummet to the ground. At the last moment, Louis catches him. Alfonso stands over the fallen Len and declares, "From today, I'll be the Golden Knight." Len doesn't deserve it. When the biggest demon arrives, ready to attack, Alfonso draws his sword and becomes the Golden Knight. He charges to eliminate the demons. Mendoza watches and says, "You will lose." But Alfonso retorts, "No, that won't happen." The massive demon attacks, swallowing Alfonso whole. But having become the Golden Knight, Alfonso's power has skyrocketed. He grows so strong that with a single strike, he destroys the giant demon. Mendoza thinks he's lost his most powerful demon, but he refuses to accept defeat. He charges at Alfonso. However, Alfonso knows the giant demon is still alive. Just as Mendoza approaches, the demon reappears behind him, its half-dead body still functioning. It devours Mendoza. Alfonso, seeing this, immediately strikes at the demon. With one swift move, he eliminates both Mendoza and the massive demon. Afterward, as Alfonso comes back down, Len, still recovering, asks, "Give me my armor back." Louis replies, "That armor isn't yours anymore. Alfonso is its new master." Len, confused, asks, "What happened to Mendoza?"
Louis tells Len Mendoza is dead, but despite hearing this, Len keeps pleading with Alfonso, saying, "Please give me back my armor. I'm the only one worthy of it." Alfonso, growing angry, responds, "Look around you. The city is burning, not because of a demon, but because of you. This destruction wasn't caused by Mendoza. It's all because you couldn't control your anger. Because of that, so many innocent lives were lost today. Honestly, I don't think you even deserve to be a Mackay Knight. A man who only seeks revenge will never protect innocent people. He will only bring them harm." Len, still desperate, says, "Please, my armor. It's the last reminder of my mother." At that moment, Louis pulls him back,
punches him hard and says, "Do you not understand? You're no longer a Mackay knight. And that armor? It belongs to Alfonso now." Len then realizes his ring is missing. Louis takes it from him and says, "Now, you need to think about what you did to end up here. You need to figure out what you'll become in the future." Alfonso adds, "If you still want your armor, you'll have to fight me for it." But Len doesn't respond by fighting. Instead, he stands there for a moment before turning and walking away. Alfonso calls after him, "You don't even have the strength to take back your armor?" Len doesn't reply and simply walks away. As Louis heads out, Emma asks, "What's next?" Louis responds, "Look, Len has fallen. That means he's lost. But Len has to get back up on his own. The days he does, he'll return." Meanwhile, in the castle, everyone is wondering who will be the next king. Then Alfonso arrives and everyone cheers. Afterward, Alfonso goes to see his mother, but when he arrives, he learns that she's dead. A girl there tells him, "Your mother took her own life. She knew Mendoza could use her against you, so she chose to end her life." Crying, Alfonso whispers, "Mom, you shouldn't have done that. I was coming for you. I would have saved you." On the other side, Len is wandering alone, talking to himself. "Mendoza is dead," he says. "That means I have no reason to keep fighting." It feels like Len has finally given up. Meanwhile, Louis, having lost a lot of blood, collapses and falls unconscious. We then see Alfonso speaking to his late mother, saying, "You gave your life for this kingdom. All I ever wanted was for you to stay with me. And I don't hate Mendoza. I just wanted you to be here so that I could make the right decisions." Having lost his mother, Alfonso finally begins to understand what Len must have felt when he faced Mendoza. Alfonso quietly admits, "If I were in your shoes, if I were in Len's place, I might have reacted the same way. I might have gone crazy, consumed by revenge." Meanwhile, we find Len standing near a cliff looking up at the sky. He speaks to his mother, saying, "Thank you, because you've always been watching over me." After this, Len leaps into the abyss, choosing his own path. And with that, friends, I'll end this video here. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel.